Let's see here. So there's a weapon script that actually handles doing the charging and firing of the weapon. And the shadow is attached to it actually, so it rotates this sort of stipple shadow here. The barrel of the gun is just a smaller cube attached to it, and these are all the charge levels, they're just cubes attached to it. And the shot trajectory that you actually see that draws out the curve is a script that I stole off the internet. I think someone from Flashbang actually wrote it, but I could be wrong about that. So it actually will simulate the entire path of the shot a few steps ahead to draw out using a line renderer, which is a built-in Unity component, the curve of the shot. So I didn't really have to think too much about how that actually works. I could just copy the code in there from the wiki, save myself a whole bunch of time. And that goes for a lot of things actually in Unity. If you're thinking about it and it seems something that's sort of like general purpose, you probably don't need to write it yourself. You can probably steal it off the web. There's a few lights in the scene. They just help to sort of make it look a bit more cool with the gradient effect on the water here. These are the individual point trackers for each player. Score display, I think, is something that pops up at the end of the game, and I think I might have actually used this in an older version. Yes, this is completely outdated. It is not used anymore, but it's still in there. It's kind of neat. And the shadows are all fake. I didn't end up using any real shadow lights. I think maybe in one of the intro scenes I use one, but in the actual game it's all just fake shadows, just flattened cubes that are semi-translucent. Even the shots have little shadows. And there's a script actually for managing the shadows. It just makes sure that they stay on the ground and that they look alright. You can kind of set where the ground is and stuff like that. This manages team points. It has a little script that just, checks the points, grabs them out of the object that has them, and sets the text to that. And the water is just a big box. So that's sort of just a really quick overview of how the scene is set up. The project file is not really that much more complicated. There's some cool little custom editor scripts that are sort of messily integrated here because I copy and paste them from a bunch of other projects I was working on. But there's a few interesting shortcuts in here that you could reuse in other projects. And this is sort of a whole other subject for a different tutorial, but basically you can create your own editor scripts that change how the editor behaves. So for example, all these things in this menu here I wrote in some scripts. Same with this entire custom menu. There's a bunch of really handy things that you can do that make creating stuff a lot easier. For example, snapping to a grid, replacing objects with prefabs, zeroing out certain position values. That's just sort of a start. There's a fonts folder here, there's a materials folder. There's only one model in the game. It's the cylinder at the beginning that represents the GammaIV button. It was made in Blender. Prefabs for everything in here. There aren't that many, really. Cloud shitty. Definitely not used anymore. I was also going to have little guys running around the game, and I never got around to doing that. But that was sort of the start of it here. There's a script with some states. The little guys are going to go around and dig through the ground. I never got around to actually finishing that because it didn't seem that useful. The item blocks here, how the splashes work, all that stuff is in here. So that's basically the simplified overview of Cake. You can download the project files from our website, and you can do whatever you want with them, more or less. If you make something cool with it, let me know. I'm thinking about maybe doing a couple tutorials that have us modifying the game to do different sort of things, like creating different types of weapons. That may be a useful exercise. It depends if I actually get around to doing that or not. But in the meantime, play around with the project file. If you have any questions, let me know. If there are big questions, I might make separate videos to explain them. And if you find these tutorials useful, please check out our site, leave comments on our blog, buy our stuff, and thanks for listening to the video.